Welcome everybody to the VR Game Rankings YouTube channel. Of course, this is the daily vlog series. Today is Tuesday, March 27th. This is episode 127, and we're probably going to have a little bit of a shorter show today, but we do have some news stories to get into, so let's go ahead and get things rolling. So the story number one, we go back to the HTC Vive Pro. Now, one of the things that we've been wondering with the Vive Pro, this is something that I was wondering out loud on the VR Roundtable podcast a number of weeks back, is with HTC selling the HTC Vive Pro headset a la carte, they're kind of limiting their market. They're limiting their market to existing Vive owners, because if you don't own a Vive and if you're looking to jump into the VR game, for you to buy the HTC Vive Pro, then you got to buy all these individual accessories. It doesn't really make a ton of sense. So it appears that they're more specifically targeting existing Vive customers. So what about complete newbies? Will they have some type of package to put together for complete newbies? Now, we know that is not going to happen until later this year, but Upload VR has a story where apparently if you actually go through the process of putting an HTC Vive Pro into your cart on Vive.com as a pre-order, a little special thing pops up letting you know that there is an accessory starter pack that you can get for your HTC Vive Pro, which will actually include 2 base stations and 2 controllers. Now, of course, these 2 base stations and these 2 controllers are the same standard base stations and controllers that we've always had for the HTC Vive, the regular HTC Vive. So none of this is 2.0. You're not even getting blue controllers as far as I'm aware. It's just the standard 2 lighthouses and 2 Vive controllers. However, the nice thing is they are putting this together in a package deal, giving you a little bit of a discount. So how much is it to create an entire package? Well, basically this little Vive Pro headset accessory starter kit is going for $450.47. Like we said, it includes 2 standard base stations and 2 standard controllers. That is it. Now, you are saving a little bit of money here, because if you were to buy an individual controller, each one is $129.99. Also, if you were to buy an individual base station, each base station is $134.99. So if you add all that up, it comes out to basically $529.96. So you're saving a whopping $79.49 if you go ahead and add this in with your Vive Pro purchase. And then, of course, what is your new final grand total? When you're finally going to check out, your new grand total is $1,250.46. So some people might wonder, well, hey, why doesn't Vive just have a package like that? Why beat around the bush? Why have this little accessory deal? Why don't they have a complete package where for $1,250 you get the whole thing? And I'd say the answer to that is because it makes it look incredibly expensive. So they probably don't want to do that. They kind of like having these little, this just makes it look cheaper. You know, for some reason, it makes it look cheaper. If they were to announce back on GDC, you know, the first day of GDC, if they were to say, hey, Vive Pro, get the entire package, it's only $1,250, that would have caused an uproar as well. So HTC could not win in either way. But, you know, they do have this Vive accessory kit. You know, it is a small savings, and honestly, when you think about this combined price, yeah, it is outrageous. It really is. But at the same time, this is the only game in town. So they have us, you know, they have us by the barrel. I mean, they can do what they want to do. They can get away with what they want to get away with. And as far as I'm aware, Amazon, like if you want to go pre-order the HTC Vive Pro from Amazon, I believe all the pre-orders are locked up. So somebody out there must actually be buying these things. So as much as we complain and moan and cry about the incredible high price tag here, somebody is actually pre-ordering these things. And that's what I kind of thought would happen, because I don't believe they're going to have this gigantic burst of availability of just thousands upon thousands of units. They're going to have a relatively limited supply in the beginning, and I think the pin-up demand is there, and it does appear to be there. Now, in a related story, one thing that we did find out in regards to the HTC Vive Pro, Road to VR had a story on this. They did make some very slight changes to their recommended specs for the HTC Vive Pro. We know that the Vive Pro has this higher resolution. It is up at a slightly higher level. It is pushing more pixels, and so it's expected you're going to need to have a little bit more horsepower driving that headset, and apparently NVIDIA was actually one of the major reasons that HTC has revised their specs on this, because NVIDIA was doing some testing with HTC Vive Pros, and they basically said to HTC, they said, hey, you might want to change some of your little specs here and kind of alter it a little bit. So what have the specs changed to? Well, now HTC is recommending a 1070 video card or a Radeon Vega 56, and that goes out to the red team out there. I'm not forgetting about you guys. I know I often only mention the NVIDIA cards, and that isn't fair, right? And then what they're recommending as the bare minimum, like the actual minimum, is now a GTX 1060 or a Radeon RX 480. So these are the new changes that have been made, because before they were recommending a 1060. So now they bumped it up to a 1070. I don't know if the minimum was a 970 or what, but now the minimum is a 1060. They're also requiring you must have one USB 3.0 port, and you also have to have one DisplayPort 1.2 or newer. Remember, there is no HDMI on this link box. Now, the good news is the vast majority of video cards out there are all going to have DisplayPort 1.2 or newer, so you're not going to really have to worry about that, but there is no HDMI on the new link box. The other thing that was spotted on their specs is Windows 7 has been removed, so you will either need Windows 8.1 or Windows 10. So those are the changes to the recommended specs in regards to the HTC Vive Pro. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to story number 3. Story number 3 is Oculus Rift is getting in the spirit of March Madness, and they have this kind of March Madness Oculus game bracket, basically, is what they're doing. They're calling it the Rift Showdown. And so what they're doing is they're putting a number of different Rift games head to head, and then they're asking Rift fans to basically vote on this. Now, this is all going on Twitter, and I went ahead and got my votes in real quick, but at the time that I was doing this, there was only about 2 hours left in the voting. I guess this is basically round 1 of this March Madness, and it's all in good fun. I mean, there's nothing really serious going on here, but I thought we could talk about it real quickly. So basically, they have 4 games from the new release category. They have Sprint Vector is going head to head with Box VR. They've got Orbis VR going head to head with Brass Tactics. Then they have 4 Rift games from their Rift Essentials category. They got Robo Recall is going head to head with Elite Dangerous. They have Super Hot going head to head with Lone Echo. And then they have 4 games from their indie favorites category. Raw Data is going head to head with In Death. Come on, In Death! Pull it out, baby. And then they got Rec Room going head to head with Onward. Now that is a strong battle right there. I don't know who's going to win that one. And then they have 4 games from Multiplayer Mayhem. They have Echo Arena going head to head with From Other Suns, and they have Star Trek Bridge Crew going head to head with The Unspoken. So like I said, as I was going to record this, there was less than 2 hours left in voting, so this is all going to be over, obviously, by the time this episode uploads, but I can kind of give you guys a breakdown on how the voting was shaking out right before we started taping this. So Sprint Vector is leading in their matchup against Box VR, 72% of the vote compared to 28%. I did happen to vote for Sprint Vector. I will admit that. I haven't played Box VR. It's kind of unfair. I probably should check this out. Haven't checked it out. I've heard a lot about it. Haven't actually tried it. Orbis VR is beating Brass Tactics 56% to 44%. This is a travesty, ladies and gentlemen. Orbis VR, okay, no, Orbis VR might be a cool game. I have nothing against Orbis VR, but Brass freaking Tactics? Like Brass Tactics, I believe, is probably one of the 3 or 4 best games that have been released in the year 2018. I don't think there's any question about it. And I really feel like Brass Tactics, when it's all said and done, like if we think about the 20 best VR games that are currently available, period, since VR began, I think Brass Tactics is in that top 20. I think it's that damn good. Now, I'm not trying to disparage Orbis VR in any way, shape, or form, but I do believe that this is kind of an MMO love thing. There's a lot of MMO lovers. They'll root for any kind of MMO that gets even remotely close to what they're looking for. And so Orbis VR is winning this matchup 56% to 44%. Okay, the next game is Robo Recall, has a 65% to 35% over Elite Dangerous. Not necessarily the fairest battle here when pretty much all Rift owners get Robo Recall for free, and obviously not all Rift owners have Elite Dangerous, so that's a difficult matchup there. Super Hot is winning 56% to 44% over Lone Echo. This is kind of surprising, but Super Hot is an incredibly well-known game. Lone Echo is well-known as well, but maybe not to the level of Super Hot. Super Hot is just a well-known, popular game. It's leading there. Raw Data, 62% over In Death at 38%. No, this is not good. No, I actually love Raw Data. For some reason, though, I don't really like Raw Data on the Rift. I don't know why. When I played it on the Vive, it just feels better to me. I've tried to play Raw Data on the Rift. Something about it just feels weird to me. In Death, oh my God, you want to talk about an underrated game. In Death is incredibly underrated in my opinion, and they are just getting trounced right now, and I am not happy by that. Now, here is the well, no, this actually isn't the closest matchup, but it's really damn close. Rec Room, 51% of the vote. Onward, 49. I mean, that is going to be a buzzer beater. It's possible that maybe Onward pulls it out, and you guys will know by the time this video is uploaded. But yeah, that is a close battle right there. Echo Arena is winning with 66% of the vote against From Other Suns at 34%. I actually voted for From Other Suns. I like the multiplayer in that game. Echo Arena, every time I go in there, I just get my ass handed to me, so it's hard for me to vote for that. Star Trek Bridge Crew, 50% against the Unspoken 50%. This one is going into overtime, folks. So I'm curious, who's going to win out of that one. I actually voted for Star Trek Bridge Crew, even though I've never ever played the game. I just think it probably is a little bit more of an enjoyable multiplayer game than Unspoken. Unspoken's cool. There's nothing wrong with it per se. But I don't know. I went ahead and voted for Star Trek Bridge Crew. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into our next story. Our next story is the Lenovo Mirage VR 180 camera is now available for pre-order on Amazon. So if you've been looking for a 180 degrees VR camera, here is your opportunity. You can go ahead and pre-order it now. The cost is $300. It's set to launch on May 4th. Now, apparently, when you go on to Amazon and you actually try to pre-order this, it's actually going to show May 6th as the launch date, but it's really May 4th. I don't know if this is like a 2-day delay for their shipping or what that has to do with it, but anyway, that's on there. The camera features dual 13 megapixel sensors with fisheye lenses that record in 4K, and this will supposedly result in 2 times better visual clarity than a standard 4K 360 camera. You can also stream your videos directly to YouTube Live or upload them to Google Photos. So I know that this camera was kind of designed with like the Daydream platform in mind, because it kind of goes hand in hand with the Lenovo Mirage Daydream headset. But I guess there must be a way you can get these videos onto YouTube and you can get them onto Google Photos. But what I'm curious about, like say I own an Oculus Rift or I own an HTC Vive or I have a Windows mixed reality headset, how easy is it going to be for me if I bought this camera to actually be able to view my stuff in legitimate VR on any of those platforms? I'm assuming there must be a way to do it that isn't that incredibly complicated, but I don't know exactly how that works. But I kind of was wondering, like, would I ever record one of my shows in VR? So like somebody could watch this show in VR. And ultimately, I don't think it would be a very, like, I don't really see the benefit of that. Like, why would anybody want to see me in 3D? You know, it doesn't really make sense. Now, one of the cool things that would be cool though is if somehow, like for example, when I'm talking about all these different games, like if I'm talking about In Death or I'm talking about Sprint Vector or I'm talking about Lone Echo or whatever the game happens to be, how cool would it be if I was standing inside the game engine? Like if I did record this in VR and it was available in VR and I was standing inside the game engine. And so if you're watching it in VR, you're seeing me talk about it while I'm standing inside the game engine. That would actually be kind of cool. So I wouldn't mind experimenting with that if that was a possibility. But yeah, so this camera is available. And one thing I will remind people, remember, we do have our Amazon associate links. It is in the YouTube description. This does help out VR Game Rankings. We do get a kickback. So if anybody out there is planning on pre-ordering a Lenovo Mirage VR 180, we have a link in our description today. So go ahead and click on that. That helps us out. It helps VR Game Rankings hopefully survive long into the future. We want to be here forever. We want to continue to cover VR gaming forever, and this will hopefully help us survive. So I will go ahead and mention that. So anyway, guys, I said that I needed to do a little bit of a shorter show today, and so that's going to go ahead and wrap it up. This has been episode 127 for Tuesday, March 27th. I'm hell of excited, guys, because you know what? Tomorrow is March 28th, and it's actually Ready Player One day, even though March 29th was always considered the Ready Player One day. I'm actually got my ticket. I'm ready to go tomorrow evening. I will be checking out Ready Player One, so I'll definitely be talking about it on Thursday's show. Spoiler alert, I will be going into probably spoilers. Of course, most people have read the book and all of that, so it won't be that big of a deal. But anyway, I will be back here on Wednesday, of course, with more news and notes, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. So take it easy. Later.